Good morning, everyone. Just waiting for one more connection. Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming. The connection on Skype online is still awaited to complete. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. Going within, looking from the above. Looking from the above. You would have observed when there is a crowd, any function, and that has to be reported from the ground level, you will not get a clear picture of what it is going on. The reporters and the photographers who are reporting that event, they use special devices and they go to a certain height. From there, using the camera, they zoom and they get a very clear image of all that is going on. A simple thing, a procession or a function is taking place on the street, and you want to have a marriage procession is passing on the street. You want to have a look at it from the level where it is happening, street level where it is happening. From there you will not get a clear picture, and more so if you are short. You will go on tiptoes, or you may take a stool or some height in order to get a clear view, or you go on top of the roof to look at the clear picture. Something like this happens. Your human body is a 7 rungs ladder, and each plane of this ladder is known as psycho-spiritual center or chakra or temple or church according to different terminologies. So in this sutra, we are expressing about that particular aspect of viewing. The sutra begins, Avalokita, the Lord the Holy Lord of Bodhisattva, was moving in the deep course of the wisdom which has gone beyond. He looked down from the high. He beheld but 5 heaps, and he saw that in their own being they were empty. First of all, what is Avalokita? Avalokita comes from a Sanskrit root Avlokan. Avlokan means to view. Avlokan means to view. It is another name of Buddha, because Buddha is the one who is at the top of his consciousness, at the highest rung, and from there he is looking at the seekers. Just as when a teacher is teaching in the classroom, by his interaction with the students, he knows their level of understanding and intelligence. Accordingly, his dealing differs. I recall when I was teaching in the university, there were students who had a very sharp intelligence and others who had medium and some below medium. The class comprised of the students of Hindi medium as well as English medium. There were many books written by Indian authors in English, and then the original authors. So the most intelligent one, they preferred the original writings, original books. The others, they went for the books written by Indian authors, that was an interpretation, so on and so forth. In the process of inward journey, each seeker is at different plane of consciousness, different, and that determines his level of understanding. To some, a mere hint is more than enough. To the others, you have to say the same thing over and over again. To some, a mere gesture is more than enough. So this is the reason that Avalokita, the Lord of Bodhisattva, he is moving. Where does the master stay? He is in his silence. That is his resting place and abode, which is, it is said, he is moving in the deep course of the wisdom. He is in communion with silence. He is imbibing the silence within, seeking the meaning and the message of the silence that is being communed. He has gone beyond the known and the unknown. And from there he is looking at, and he sees 5 heaps. These heaps refer to centers. And from there he saw they were empty. Avalokita is another name for Buddha. As I said, Avalokita comes from the Sanskrit root Avlokan, to view. One who looks from the above, one who looks at the 7th center, Sahasrara, the transcendental, the 1,000-petal lotus, and from there he is looking. Naturally, whatever you see gets contaminated, if I have to use the correct words, is mixed by your standpoint. It is mixed with the standpoint by the space you are in. If you are a politician, whatsoever you say, you will be using the language of a politician. If you are a chemist, you will use the language accordingly. And if you are a physicist, in order to explain anything, you will talk quantum physics, atom, and that terminology will be used to explain. If a man lives at the lowest rung, the first center or first temple or first church, which is according to Hindu terminology known as Mooladhara, or the earth center, physical body, he looks at everything, he looks from that standpoint. A man who lives in the physical body can only see your physical body. When he looks at you, he cannot see anything other than the physical body. He cannot see more than that. Your vision of things depends on from where you are looking or viewing at the things. If you stand at the political rung, you will look everything from that. I have heard, there was a beautiful hill, two hills, and amidst that there was a waterfall. It was a beautiful scene. Waterfall between two hills. The foam of the water flow was covering up at times the hills. 3 people went to visit the place. They were carried. One was poet, the other was an engineer, and the third was a politician. First was the chance of the poet. He said, what a natural beauty. It seems nature's beauty has assembled at this place. Beautiful hills, the clouds touching the hill, waterfall amidst that. The heart rejoices a myriad times. The heart wants to dance and sing in merrymaking. Next was the engineer. Oh, what a beautiful example of nature's architect. What a beautiful example of nature's architect. No one has created it, and it is such a beautiful architect. 2 hills and between them a waterfall. And the third was Mr. Politician. Listen to what he says. What a criminal waste of natures, what a criminal waste of energy and resources. Nobody is here to reap the benefit of this waste of energy. Had it been in my constituency, I would have won the election. Different viewpoints, different interpretations. So this is what I am explaining. When you are at the Mooladhara or the first center, you can only see the physical body and things that are related to physical body. For example, you may say this man doesn't speak English properly. He has his life like that. He eats like that. All the things that are related to the physical body, that's what you can see. You will not see anything beyond that. If you are a person who is sexually disturbed, moving in fantasies, will only look at the things from that standpoint. When you look at Sigmund Freud, he was at the second center and he looked at everything from, and he reduced it to suppressed sexuality. Any dream you will ask him to interpret, he will interpret it in terms of repressed sexuality. A man who is hungry will always look from that standpoint. Watch in your own self. You look at the things and each time it appears different because you are different. In the morning, the world looks a little beautiful. Then in the evening, in the morning you are fresh. And in the morning, you have now arisen from a deep sleep. Maybe it was a dreamless sleep. You have tasted something of the transcendental while asleep, although unconsciously. So in the morning everything looks beautiful, fresh. People are more compassionate, more loving, purer in the morning. They are innocent. By the time evening arrives, the wear and tear of the day's work, people will become more corrupted, cunning, clever, manipulating, ugly, violent and deceiving. These are the same people who were fresh, compassionate in the morning, and by the time dawn comes in, by the time dusk comes in, they are mundane, in the worldly, in the physical too much, and they become focused at that point. Thomas Gray has written in 17th century a poem, Elegy written in a country churchyard. It's an evening time. The ploughman, the cowherd are returning home after the day's work. As there is twinkling, there is a dance, the bells that are tied around the necks of the cowherd. And as they walk, dust is raising like the dust cloud in the air. The sound of the bell hanging from the neck, the curfew tolls the knell of the parting day. Knell means the bell. The curfew tolls the knell of the parting day. The lowly wind slowly homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world unto me alone. This is the first stanza. It's a long elegy. Elegy means something is written when somebody has passed away. In Urdu it is called Marsiya or Shraddhanjali or homage. The curfew tolls the knell of the parting day. The lowly wind slowly homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world to me. And in that he explains. So when you are at the physical plane, the earth center, which is grounded, which is the ground, and it is very important your roots are grounded. The building has a deep foundation. If the structure has to be strong enough, the foundation has to be made accordingly. So the construction engineer, he looks at the whole plan of the structure and accordingly he decides what kind of foundation he needs, how deep the foundation has to be. Deeper the roots grow, taller and stronger the tree becomes. So there is nothing that is insignificant in life. But you cannot remain in the foundation. You have finished the foundation, then the wall will start. When the seed has been planted in the womb of the earth and it bursts forth from there, two things happen simultaneously. The root goes deeper and the stem goes upwards. The man of perfection, a deep understanding, is the one who can move through all these psycho centers very easily. If you know the ladder, the step, the staircase very well, you can move your staircase very easily as compared to the one who is a stranger in your house, who is a visitor. He does not know where your staircase is, how does it move. Maybe the staircase is one, it leads to different floors, just as an elevator is one, but it stops at different levels to take the persons from that plane, from that level, and drop them at that level. Ladder easily capable of doing that function. So an awakened one is capable of taking you through various centers. He knows, he has journeyed through those. He knows when an individual is at a base center, he can only look into the physical body. He has to be taken somewhat deeper. The man of perfection or totality is the one who can move through all these centers easily, and that gives him the freedom. He is not attached to anyone, who does not have a fixed viewpoint, who is like the dial. You can adjust it to any vision. That is what is known as mukta. and he is really free. He can move in all the dimensions and yet remain unaffected, untouched by any of these. His purity is never lost. His purity remains transcendental of the highest nature. Buddha can come and touch your body, heal your body. He can become a body, but that is his freedom, if that be necessary. He can become the mind. He can talk to you and explain things to you that you can understand at the level of the mind. He comes and stands behind the mind, uses the mind, just as you drive the car to move from one destination to another. You never become the car. You are using the car as a vehicle to move from one place to another. Buddha can use the mind just like a vehicle to take you from one level to the another. He uses all the rungs. He is the entire ladder. But his ultimate standpoint remains transcendental. He belongs to the realm beyond the known. That is his nature. Avalokita means one who looks from the beyond, from the top at the world. Just like a photographer and a reporter who is reporting an event that is happening at the ground level. It's a big crowd, unmanageable at times, a vast crowd. He goes at a height, using his devices, and from there he zooms his camera to focus on a particular position where the things are taking place, where the star or the prime minister or whosoever is goes there, and from there he reports, shows the images, and so on. Avalokita, the holy Lord and Bodhisattva, was moving in the deep course of the wisdom which has gone beyond. Sutra says this is the state of beyondness, and that state is not static, because he said moving in the deep course of wisdom. How can you move in the deep course of wisdom? That means it is not static. In order to explain things, I have to use different examples, use my intelligence, and take the various examples from here and there and everywhere to explain my viewpoint. It is not static. It is not one way. It is a process. It is river-like. It is rivering. River is the flow. There are two banks, and between the banks there is a river bed, and the flow, the two banks, the river bed, are the essential physical requirements for something to be known as a river, and that which flows between them is a river. River is constantly flowing, and It is not static. Jayashankar Prasad, in his plays, Kamaini or so, gives a beautiful description of the river. Shonit, he calls it the name in one of the plays, I do not recall the name. And the one who wrote the English writer Siddhartha, he gives a beautiful description of the river that flows by the side of the village where the harlot Kamla was living, and the boatman was ploughing his boat to take the people from one bank to another, to the village and out of the village. And he gives a beautiful description as if river is alive, moving. And if you really look at the river, the waves on this, they continuously moving. It is rivering, not static. And it is not a noun. It should be called rivering. Ganga rivering, Thames rivering, Hudson rivering. It goes on unfolding myriad secrets. Your energy is rivering. It is unfolding myriad things. That is why Hindu call it 1,000-petal lotus. 1,000 simply means the infinite. It is symbolic of, it symbolizes infinity, symbolic of infinity, petals upon petals. Upon petals goes on opening. You will recall, those who know about English literature, there has been a poet, Robert Browning. It was a Victorian age. The father was considered the dictator in the house. No one were allowed to meet their friends of the opposite sex. Even the legs of the chair were covered because they were legs. When the dogs were taken out, their legs were covered. Robert Browning was a beautiful poet. There was a person called Elizabeth. Her maiden name was Barrett, Elizabeth Barrett. And the play is called Barrett's of the Wimpole Street. That's a street in London. And Barrett's was the family, the father and two sisters. Elizabeth has gotten an injury during her childhood. She fell and she was bedridden. But she was a poetess. Her other sister, Henrietta, was not allowed to meet her boyfriends. The father was the dictator. That's how the Victorian age can best be described. Elizabeth was bedridden. She had a maid known as Wilson. One day Elizabeth was reading a poem that was very famous, has now come, by Robert Browning's Sword Aloe. The line goes, all petals, no petal. I do not recall all the lines. The only thing is important, all petals, no petals. This is the same description. Petals upon petals. And petals goes on opening. How long will it take to open? Nobody knows. And it is a very slow process. Now with the technology you can see petals opening slowly and slowly. In a slow movement you can see By adjusting the speed of the camera, you can see it. In one of my videos, that is on Sikh Aarti, we gave a scene at the back where flower opening is its petals, a deer taking a stride in a slow motion, and things like these. It's a beautiful petals opening, if you can see through the naked eyes. What a tremendous beauty is that when the petals starts opening itself, but the naked eye is not capable of viewing that. So Elizabeth was trying to understand the meaning and she could not. She asked Wilson, do you understand these lines? All petals, no petals. And the name of the poem was Sordello. Wilson's was of a mediocre intelligence. She was a maid. She said, ma'am, I do not understand, and you know Robert is coming this afternoon. You can ask him the meaning of the poem because he is the author of this. So eagerly Elizabeth waited for Robert to come. In the afternoon, Robert came in. They were living on the second floor. The window was open. From the window you can look down the street. So Elizabeth asked Robert, what is the meaning of this poem? Robert took the book in his hand, looked at it as if trying to be in deep communion, trying to understand the meaning of the poem. He turned over the book, and then with the book he walked over to the window, peeped down on the street, introspective. Slowly, in a slow motion, he turns towards the Elizabeth and walked to her. And he said, when I wrote this poem, I and God knew the meaning. Now only God does. I do not know the meaning. Poets are touched by a certain consciousness. They reach to that level. And from there he wrote. Mirza Ghalib says this beautifully in one of his compositions. आते हैं ये मज़ामी ख्याल में गैब से, गालिब नवाए शरोज शरीर खामा है. आते हैं ये मज़ामी ख्याल में गैब से, गालिब नवाए शरोज शरीर खामा है. When I take the pen and it moves on the paper, there is a sound. That sound is of the pen moving on the paper, is the sound of that angel who speaks through me. आते हैं ये मज़ामी ख्याल में गैब से. गैब means that realm, transcendental, beyond the known. Beyond the known, ghaib. And Sufis say, when a master leaves this world, he is no more physically available, but consciousness is never destroyed. Someone was lamenting at the demise of the master and saying, ये क्या राज है साकिये मस्त बेखुद, ये क्या राज है साकिये मस्त बेखुद कि अब तूने चश्मे इनायत हटा ली. ये क्या राज है साकिये मस्त बेखुद कि अब तूने चश्मे इनायत हटा ली. इनायत का रंग बदला हुआ है. The answer comes in. इनायत का रंग आज बदला हुआ है, वो है यहाँ जामा बदल कर बैठे हुए. जरा अपने चश्मे हकीकी से देखो. हकीकी means haq. It comes from the word haq. Haq means truth, the highest point. जरा अपने चश्मे हकीकी से देखो, न ये जाम खाली न वो जाम खाली। ये क्या राज है साकिए मस्त बेखुद कि अब तूने चश्मे इनायत हटा ली। वही मैं कदा है मगर सूना सूना, वही मैं कदा है मगर सूना सूना। इनायत का रंग आज बदला हुआ है, वो है यहाँ जामा बदल कर बैठे हुए। ज़रा अपने चश्मे हकीकी से देखो, न ये जाम खाली न वो जाम खाली। Petals upon petals, thousand is symbolic of infinite. The journey begins but it never ends. It is eternal pilgrimage. Your pilgrimage starts, and when you reach to the destination it is over. One eternal pilgrimage, once it is started, it has a beginning and no end. Then you continuously dwell in that realm. Avalokita, the holy Lord and Bodhisattva, was moving in the deep course of the wisdom, which has gone beyond. He was flowing like a river into the world of the beyond, flowing like the river in the world of the beyond. He is called the Holy Lord and Bodhisattva. Again, the Sanskrit word has to be remembered. In Sanskrit language, the word is used Ishwar, which is translated as Holy Lord. Ishwar means one who has become rich, tremendously rich from his own riches, not from the outward riches, whose riches are his own nature. If you are compassionate, loving, these are the riches. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can steal it. They cannot be lost. That is your eternal treasure. He is flowing like a river in the eternal world of the beyond. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.